and happy to report that after about a month and a half now,
Sandie, how did you find Carnivore?
in 2019, I was desperate to lose weight. I was almost 230 pounds. That's a lot of weight to carry for anyone, especially someone that's 5'2", 5 feet 2 inches. So I was desperate to find something, and I literally Googled how to lose weight fast. best way to best diet for fat loss. And I ended up stumbling on Dr. Ken Berry's videos and Dr. Sten Ekberg's videos. And so that helped build a foundation. I just watched all their videos. I was like kind of studying before I did anything. Um, and so that's how I found the idea of the keto diet. That's what I started with, was the keto diet, and then sliding my way into carnivore. And so that's how I found it.
Okay, and when did you? What was the point that you realized? Okay, well maybe I can take this further and go into Carnivore.
About halfway through, I started off with tapering my carbs before I really committed to the keto diet. I started off by just tapering my sugars, and but still eating other carbs, and then I started to taper taper other carbs like rice, tortillas, beans, all that stuff. Um, but eventually I said, you know what, I'm going to do this all the way, and I'm just going to eliminate everything, and I'm going to do this keto diet correctly. And that's when the weight really started coming off. Maybe around the 3 or 4 month mark, I just naturally gravitated toward carnivore, because it was just easier to just eat meat, and instead of trying to track my macros of how much fat am I eating? Am I eating enough? And so I found it a little tedious um, to stick to the traditional keto, which is mostly fat and moderate protein. I found it hard to find that balance. So I just naturally gravitated toward carnivore because it was so easy to just eat the steak and leave it at that. So around the 3 4 month mark, I started that, and that's when my weight loss really kicked up a notch. And I went from pretty much 230 pounds. I lost 40 pounds, and in the span of 6 months in 2019. So that's I went from 230 to 190. It'd been at least 10 years since I've seen a leading one on the scale. So that was just amazing to me. What? I'm 190 something? I mean, that was amazing. And people started, after I lost 40 pounds, people finally started noticing. They're like, something's different. Have you lost a little weight? Yeah, I have. How much? Oh, almost 40 pounds. What? Oh, I thought you only lost like 5 pounds. I mean, I'm just the kind of person that um, weight loss is not evident physically. Other people don't notice it until I've lost a minimum of like 30, 35 pounds. So at the 40-pound mark, people started noticing, and I started feeling really good about myself. And so that was in 2019. The holiday season came around, and I started eating the mashed potatoes, the dinner rolls, the mac and cheese, the good kind, the baked kind, and all the pies and everything. And I mean, I at that time I worked at a hospital, and people would just be bringing all kinds of goodies, and I found it harder and harder to stay away from it. And so it was Thanksgiving, then Christmas, and I said, okay, Um, After the new year, I'm going to get back on track and I'm going to eliminate all these foods that I've been letting myself indulge in. And I said, "Oh, but it's going to be my 40th birthday. My birthday's on January 16th, and I really wanted to, I really wanted to booze it up with my friends." and and so for me, social drinking leads to social eating, right? And and then after my birthday, I said, okay, just after my birthday, I'm going to get back on track. And so that's January 2020. What happened shortly after January 2020? Dot, dot, dot. Then COVID, right? So I let that be an excuse. Everything shut down. And I don't know about in your part of the world, but over here, all of a sudden you couldn't buy meat. It was very scarce. And and then so I kind of let that be an excuse. I said, well, I guess we're going to have to live on rice and beans for until this is over. And and I was not sad about that because I love rice and beans. and
We were lucky here. You could still get meat, you just couldn't get toilet paper.
yeah, that too. We were meatless and toilet paperless, and not all stores had a had a a supply problem with meat. We did end up finding stores a little bit further out that had some meats. And I'm not saying like the shelves were completely empty and there was absolutely no meats and there was just like tumbleweeds in the meat section. It wasn't like that, but I mean meat that I would want to eat, it was like it was bare for a little bit and it was kind of scary, but I let that be an excuse. Oh, but COVID and it's just hard and blah, blah, blah. And so throughout 2020, I ended up gaining all the weight back. My 40 pounds that I lost and said goodbye to came back, knocked on my door, and moved in. And so I have no one to blame but myself. But yeah, I gained back all the weight. And so ever since then, it's 2024 now, 4 years later, almost 5 years later, and I kept going back to trying keto, ketovore, carnivore, trying to be somewhere within that spectrum. And I would gain and lose and gain and lose the same 15 pounds over and over and over again. And I'm thinking, gosh, I must love punishment or something because I keep going back to this carnivore diet. And for a little bit, I'm doing okay. And I lose weight. And then the allure of the Twinkie or whatever, it proves to be too strong. And I go off the rails again completely. And so just so many attempts to get back on track. And I haven't been able to regain that success that I had in 2019. But why do I keep going back to it? Why do I keep trying the carnivore or ketovore or keto? Why do I keep doing this over and over again if I can't stick to it? Well, it's because I know it works. I've seen what it can do in my life. I've seen what it can do in other people's lives. So that's why I keep going back to it. And so now I'm on my, I don't know, 187th attempt. um, and happy to report that after about a month and a half now, I've gone from 226 to, as of this morning, 210. So it's little, but it's picking up steam.
That That's awesome. And so it's good. A month and a half is a good amount of time to, I mean, obviously to see weight loss, but also to just kind of solidify those patterns of eating, or get more into those patterns of eating. So in that time you've had the weight loss, have you noticed anything else?
I've noticed, well, you mean like physically? Yeah.
Or mentally, or just
Mhm.
yeah.
So, so physically, um, I mean, I don't see a difference in the mirror yet. It's only 16 pound. I mean, I don't want to say only because no small victories, right? We celebrate every victory, but I don't see any changes physically. But my husband does say when he hugs me, he can hug me a little bit tighter. and other things that I've noticed is that my carpal tunnel symptoms aren't as they're not as strong. I'm a really hard typer. I don't know why I like bang on the keyboard as if I'm angry at it. And I do this all day. And so by the end of the day, I just have so much pain between my wrist all the way up to my shoulder. And I've noticed that that's subsided a little bit. And as we know, carnivore lifestyle will reduce inflammation, um, and carpal tunnel is a lot of inflammation. And also my knee. I have arthritis in my knees, and yeah, they still bother me, but not quite as much as they did 2 months ago. Um, Mentally speaking, I'm still kind of going through it. I have ups and downs right now. I'm still having days where I'm really tired. And I feel like that quote unquote keto flu kind of hits me on random days. So I'm still going through that a little bit. And sometimes I do have a little bit of brain fog, but I know from the past that sometimes that happens because your body's trying to uh, become fat adapted, and just trying to make that switch from burning glucose as a fuel to burning fat as a fuel. So I'm still experiencing a little bit of fatigue and brain fog, but it's getting better. I notice that I don't need to sleep in as much anymore.
Nice. And so over the last month and a half, how have you been eating?
Uh, I started tapering again, and this is even maybe like 2.5, 3 months ago. I started tapering little tiny amounts, and then finally just eliminated carbs and jumped right into carnivore. I didn't even uh, try to do keto. I just jumped right into carnivore. And so in the morning, I have 2, 3 eggs, and sometimes that's enough for me. Sometimes I will have other protein with the eggs, and if it's a big enough meal in the day, that's all I need. I'm not hungry the rest of the day, and I don't break my fast until about 11 or 12, and 11 in the morning or noon. And but if I wake up hungry, I'll just eat. I'm really trying to listen to my body more rather than just be like, oh, it's not this time yet. I can't. Nope, sorry. and and there's room for that, but right now, because habit building is habit building and habit breaking is so important for me as someone who has a really hard time sustaining and sticking to a routine. I'm really just trying to focus on the habit, and then I'll start to be a little more strict with myself. So if I feel hungry, I'll eat. I'll cook up a bunch of ground beef, ground turkey. Um, I'll even pre-cook a bunch of bacon in my little in my little oven, my little toaster oven, and it gets real crispy. And I'll put it in a Ziploc bag, and that way I could just take it out and just munch on it if I feel like I need something. Um, I make sure I always have eggs on hand. I'm trying to be a little more adventurous with the meats, but that's hard for me because I'm weird about that. So I don't do like the liver and the cow eyeballs or whatever. I don't, I'm not adventurous with the meat. Sorry.
I I don't think I'd be buying many cow eyeballs from the
I don't
supermarket
even know
anyway.
if they're available, but I'm sure they are if you ask. Um, but I mean, I know some people like they want it when they're proponents of the carnivore lifestyle. They want what do they call it, nose to tail, and Dr. Ken Berry always talks about how healthy it is because you're ingesting collagen when you're eating all that connective tissue and cartilage and everything, and so I sounds a little too adventurous for me right now. So I'm sticking to like ground pork, ground beef, ground turkey, just steaks, chicken. Um, I don't like seafood, and so that really limits. I can have maybe like 3 shrimp, and then I'm grossed out. I don't like salmon, and I wish I did because I know that's a really great source of so many wonderful nutrients. And unfortunately, I don't like that. I'm doing like
How
the
do you add
five-year-old
butter
version
in?
of carnivore.
Huh. Do you add butter in?
Yeah, I do. I do. I'll eat butter. If I need to cook with an oil, I'll do avocado oil. I know some people are don't want oils at all. Um, and there's uh, avocado oil may be inflammatory, but I mean, sometimes I will. It just depends on what I'm making, but I try to stick to the butter.
And how is your husband with this? Is he doing this along with you, or is he doing his own thing?
He's he's teetering right now. He'll be all for my meaty breakfast, and he'll have like the sausage and the eggs and the bacon, and oh yeah, this is great. And then like at night he'll serve himself a big bowl of cereal. I'm like, good God, man, what are you doing? So he's kind of he's almost there. He needs a little more convincing, I guess. And so I feel that if I have really great results, he'll join eventually. He needs to see that I'm sticking to it because my family just thinks, oh, here she goes again on her crazy carnivore. Let's see how long it lasts this time. I know that's what they're thinking. It's not that they're it's not that they're not supportive. It's just I know that that's a thought in the back of their mind is let's see how long she sticks with it this time.
Yeah, I think that's the unfortunate thing of the people that you live with or the people you're close to is that often happens. Like I over the years I've had that feeling from people like my wife or my family generally. It's like, oh, he's on something else now. Yeah, yeah. This will be another month of this and then he'll be back to shoving the donuts in his mouth, blah blah blah. And
Right.
you know,
Right.
but yeah, I
Exactly.
think it's just something you always have to switch off to. Yeah.
And then it's, when I mean the holidays are kind of knocking on our door, they're going to come quick. And I asked myself, how is this going to be different? How is this time, this umpteenth time, going to be different? And I think the key factor here is that I'm accepting and acknowledging the fact that I have a a sugar addiction, a carb addiction, because honestly, my whole life, if we had rice and you know and some meat, sometimes I would just want a plate of rice and I'd be so happy. And so I have to I've already acknowledged and accepted that it's an addiction, and I have to treat it like any other substance addiction, right? And so just because it's Christmas and a little old lady offers you something, it doesn't mean you have to take it. You don't have to take it, because we wouldn't do that to someone we know is a recovering alcoholic or somebody who beat a cocaine addiction. They're like, it's just one line, it's fine. It's your birthday, celebrate. We're not going to say that to them, and we're not going to tell ourselves, oh, it's my birthday, you know let me just binge a little bit on whatever substance it is that I had a problem with. So so I think that's the difference between now and the all the other times that I tried and didn't stick to it, is that I'm finally seeing it that way. And so I I'm really focusing on the whole change your mind, change your life. Um, and so pray for me.
Yeah. So
Send me
at the
good
point
vibes, whatever it is that you do.
that you're at, like I'm always a big fan of just focusing on the, a day at a time. Get through the day without cheating, and then, your resolve's going to be stronger the second day, and then same thing second day, and then your resolve's going to be stronger the third day, and so forth. So I'm a big fan of that, and not projecting out into the future and thinking about what's going to happen long term. Am I going to be able to do this and whatever? But the only thing that I do think is a good thing to project out, especially with the holidays coming up, is when you're in a situation like, you have the family around you and all the carbs and all the things, is focus on a day at a time, but also do a little bit of projecting out. Think about, if I was tempted and I did go ahead with this, how am I going to feel tomorrow morning?
Mhm.
Because, like, you know I've been on and off the wagon so many times over the last couple of decades, it's not funny. And inevitably, it's always great when you go, "Oh, yeah, I'll just have some," right? But then the next day when you wake up and you realize, what did I do? And then, like, that the next day is just completely ruined, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
you just ruminating constantly about all the mistakes that you've made and how you feel bad and how this has thrown you off track and all that kind of thing. So I think there's also
Yeah.
some benefit a day at a time, but also projecting out tomorrow morning, how am I actually going to feel if I break this?
Yeah, and I think there is such a thing as a carb hangover. I have experienced it I have experienced it many times, not this time around, because I haven't let myself really indulge in anything, but before, in my other million attempts, um, I will literally wake up feeling hung over, like, did I have did I have Long Beach iced teas, or did I have cake? Like, and and it's a real thing. So, like you said, think about how it's going to make you feel. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to regret it, and but physically, you might actually wake up feeling hungover the next day.
Yeah, definitely. It
It's
feels like,
weird.
did I eat a piece of cake or did I dive into the cake? That's
It's
Yeah.
so true. It's so true. And I know you've said this before, and other people that you have talked to have said this before. This lifestyle of carb elimination, it's not one that allows cheat days or like cheat weekends or cheat vacation. Like it's a little hard to do that because you will immediately kick yourself out of that fat burning mode, and then you go back to burning glucose, and then so everything that you worked for um, in achieving that metabolic state is going to be knocked out really fast. And so I think about that too. And I think of it like a motor that is being the gears are being switched back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the time. And eventually that motor is going to burn out. And I don't want to do that to my body. I mean, maybe it doesn't work that way, but that's how I'm seeing it in my mind. Um, and so I think that if we do get to a point where we are going to let ourselves indulge in something, then it becomes more about uh, damage minimization. uh, right? I was on a I was on Reddit, and somebody posted something that said, "I'm going on vacation. I'm going on a cruise, and it's I'm gonna cheat." They just put it out there. I'm gonna cheat, but I don't know how I should do it. And so a lot of people were saying things like, "Don't just get on the cruise and just immediately dive into the chips and the cookies and the pasta. Stick to how you're normally eating," because this person lost, I think, over 100 pounds. And so it's like, don't reward yourself by eating the very foods that caused so much weight gain and and other health conditions. Just stick to what you normally do, but maybe if you're strict carnivore, maybe slide into ketovore and say, okay, maybe I'll allow myself like one little thing in one meal, but I'm not going to do it every day. Or you can slide a little bit further and just go quote unquote low carb and say, I'm not going to go over 50 carbs, right? But then I'm going to have to track it. So it's like, okay, my one thing that I'm going to allow myself today, if I'm going to drink, then I'm not going to eat the carbs. I'm just going to drink them, right? Or I want dessert. I want dessert with dinner, so I know that the rest of the day before dinner, I'm going to just stick to what I normally do. And I thought that was really great advice that I saw on that subreddit, and I'm going to remember that.
So yeah, I think that that typically that work that kind of strategy can work for people that are more of the moderator type of person. For
Yes,
the
and those
likes
that
of
are
someone like
already,
me,
yeah,
I'm
can't.
like that. The carb monkey is always there. It's like that the dull itch.
Yeah,
As long as I don't touch it, it's going to stay as a dull itch.
yeah.
As soon as I scratch it once, that's it. It just flares up, and I've got to keep scratching it. And that's me with as soon as I introduce carbs, that'll be that. It's just downhill.
I'm the same way, and for a lot of us who are either just starting out for the very first time or it's their 20th attempt, we just have to focus on just establishing the routine, establishing the lifestyle. I've heard it's been said that it takes 30 days to make or break a habit and 90 days to make a new lifestyle. But for me, I think it takes 3 times as long. I need 90 days to just focus on the habit, to make or break the habit, and probably close to a year to actually make it a lifestyle. So if you know that about yourself, um, just try really, really hard to say no. And I don't mean to sound sad, but I mean for people like us with the, what did you call it, the carb monkey, or
Yeah,
what,
the Carb Monkey.
the carb monkey. I totally have a carb monkey on my back. It's like, you want it. Like, and so when you're new or you're just, starting out again for just, you have to be so careful. And so for those who have been in this lifestyle for years, and they're at their goal weight, maybe they can slide into, maintenance, and they can maybe afford themselves a little cushion. But I know I'm not there. Not yet. Yeah.
So, what is your strategy as far as going into the holidays? Are you going to try and you you just resolve, I'm not going to have the carbs, or are you going to try and avoid particular events, or how are you going to do it?
I really thought about just saying no to any Thanksgiving and Christmas invitations. But I mean, I do anyway. I'm kind of a Grinch. I'm not big. I don't really like the holidays. Um, but but I still go and do and be part of the family. But I think that I just really need to hurry up and eat the turkey and eat whatever meaty sides there might be. I mean, I don't know what's a meaty side. I don't know, but if necessary, I don't know where that came from. Um, but if necessary, I will make my own food, um, to have aside from the turkey. So if there's like turkey and ham, I'm just gonna eat as much of that until I'm super stuffed and I can't possibly have the mashed potatoes and the rolls and the mac and cheese and all that and whatever else. I mean, I love all that, but I think I'm gonna just have to kind of get snippy with myself and say, you know what it tastes like. You've had it a million times, so why do you need it right now? You act like you've never had it before. So I sometimes I have to talk to myself that way, and maybe that's not very healthy, but sometimes I have to get snippy with myself. So that's going to be my approach is whatever meats are on the table, i'm I'm just going to eat as much of it until I'm really full. That way I don't want, I'm not going to really want the other stuff. I mean, maybe I'll want it, but I'm gonna say, "Oh, it's gonna make me sick." I'm already really full. Forget it. Um, I think it's easier to do that when you're going to someone else's house versus you hosting a holiday party and you having all the leftovers, and then you could be the little mouse in the kitchen, sneaking in there. Nobody's gonna know that I took a bite of pumpkin pie. So I think that helps too, is going to someone else's house where you're not going to have the leftover temptations, right? In your own house.
Yeah, nice. Well, I hope, Sandy, you'll come back on in a few months and let us know how things are going.
I would love to. I would really love
That'd
to
be
just to give an update of how I'm doing. Um, I'm I feel really motivated, and having people like you who put knowledge out into the world and allow people to talk about their experiences, it's so helpful. There's so many great videos out there, so many wonderful stories and stories of amazing transformation, and those are really motivating. But I also want to hear from people that are in the thick of it with me, and today they feel great, tomorrow they're crying because they want, something that they really shouldn't have, or it's just, so um I do like to watch videos from all sorts of people in all different points in their journey. And so I thank you for giving us a way to share our journeys.
No worries. So I'm sure people would probably like to get in contact with you if possible. Do you have any social media or anything like that?
Um, I'm not super active, but I do have TikTok, and that's just at Sandie Weldon. Just how it's displayed on there, but except there's no space in between Sandie and Weldon. And then I have Snapchat, um, and that's Sandie_Weldon.
I'll link to those below. Sandie, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.